Hi, welcome to another episode of Life's a Shuffle. This is Gloria, life coach.
Hi, welcome to another episode of Life to Shuffle. This is Ron Johnson, your life coach, leadership coach, and personal trainer. Definitely today is going to be a topic that I think is on everybody's list. First is PTS and PTG. The first one stands for PTS is post traumatic stress, and PTG stands for post traumatic growth. So when you think about PTS, most people refer PTSD, which is something that you have to be diagnosed with. So if you face a really horrific trauma, let's say rape, combat experience, kidnapping, abuse, that those are forms of PTSD that you have to get diagnosed for. But relatively speaking, PTS happens in a regular normal life. And post traumatic stress really means that you're going to have a situation where for momentarily you feel fear and it's fight or flight. So let's say, for example, I'll give two examples. First example, you may get pulled over by the cops, right? You feel that stress happening. You don't know if you're going to get a ticket or what's going to happen, or better yet, you get in a horrific car accident. So that's considered PTS, means that you witness a fear that happened to you, and the ripple effects that it can last for weeks or even sometimes months. But if it starts going past months, then you may be considered for PTSD. And that's what today's topic is going to be about, the two difference between PTS and PTG. Most of us never heard PTG. I didn't hear about it until I read a book called Power versus Force and Letting Go by David Hawkins. I never even heard the reference to that. And Seven Habits of Highly Effective People talked about post-traumatic growth, which is PTG. Never experienced that. So,
I don't think
Glory,
anybody really talks about it.
no one
About
really
it.
talks
So
about
I,
that.
yeah.
You know what? When it comes to really dealing with stress,
Hmm.
um, most people want to diagnose what's happening then. So let's say you're going through stress, you have to diagnose what's the feeling behind that stress, why is it happening, is has been lingering for amount of time. All these questions come up, but we never talk about the opposite side of that. So before in our podcast, I always talked about a quarter having two sides, right? That's the difference between PTS and PTG. A quarter has one side, right? So if you go through a stressor, right now with COVID going on, maybe you're going through a stressor of the unknown. Let's say bills are piling up. Let's say the fear of you may not have a job, the fear how you can pay your bills. I'm just referencing a few. I mean, it can be even fear of getting sick. I mean, a lot of people are dealing with a lot of different avenues of PTS. Some fearful of getting sick, some fearful of not being able to pay their bills, some fearful about the business, if they have a job. All these fears and emotions of uncertainty come up, and that's what's happening right now. So again, like I said, the quarter has two sides. Right now, we're doing PTS. So when it comes to PTG, Gloria, what do you think? What does PTG mean?
Um, Thinking about it, PTG is after PTS, right? So basically, it's the growth. It's after you've experienced the stress. What happens to you? Um, how have you dealt with it? So either you start looking at things more differently, um, and maybe you're looking for more things that are more in the positive areas. You're looking at life more differently. It depends on what you've gone through with the stress. It could be like appreciation of life, um, or new possibilities in life. Personal strength,
Of course,
all that would be like the post traumatic growth that I could think of.
and you're certainly right about that. When we're going through PTS or our event that's happened for us traumatic, all we can think about is what's happening at the moment, and that totally makes sense because it's happening right now. We so seldom think about an opposite feeling. This has happened to me, but there's opposite feeling that it will happen, or time will pass, or this shall pass, are always those things that really come up when you're dealing with things that are immediate stressors. Definitely, you're right about that. Spiritual development, greater appreciation for life, close relationships, and personal growth are all associated with PTG. Let's talk about PTG in a sense where, let's say, you lose your business. But if you're right now, you're going through COVID and you lose your business, you lose the fact that you may not have a business to go to or a job to go to. How do you deal with those stressors? Well, let's consider this. In life, this shall pass. Everything usually passes in the right order it should be. More importantly, you're at the place you should be at the right time and trust the process. Now, obviously, with those, it's easier said than done, of course. But the more important thing about dealing with things that are stressors is recognizing it will pass. What can you do right now? So, not so much thinking about what you can do in the future, but what can you do right now? That's the main difference, and that's what makes it considerable. Is underlying the feeling when going through a PTS, and underlying the feeling what's after the PTG, post traumatic growth.
Mhm.
So, what do you think about that?
There's so much things that I could think of about that. Um, one is the post traumatic stress. Obviously, that's something that we've all experienced and have experience on. It could just be as little, I mean, not little, but, it could be a car accident. It could be just a post traumatic stress could be losing a job, or right now um with pandemic, a lot of people that have lost their jobs or the company shut down. um I would consider those as post traumatic stress. um and with post traumatic stress, and you talked about post traumatic growth, and what it is what can you do after that. So it's the way I look at things is shifting, um shifting your thoughts. It could be self-medicated. So because when I was when I read about this, about the post-traumatic stress one time, that you know when your normal brain function, you're thinking regularly, you're talking information. When you're thinking this way, things feel more neutral, right? But then when that gets triggered with post traumatic stress, then that automatically switches to into survival mode. And what did we talk about on that one? Was the when your body prepares you for fight or flight.
That's correct. Fight or flight.
Yeah, yeah, and you have little control over what you do. So that will sink in. You let that sink in for a while, and let's say it lasts for maybe within a month. But with that, there's a lot of negative changes in your beliefs or your feelings. You'll forget, let's say, you're not being able to talk about them, or you're not feeling anybody. Avoidance is part of it too. Your inability to sleep and relax, um, trouble concentrating, avoiding the situations. It could be anxiety also.
A lot of things can happen during that time period. And the reason why most people don't talk about post traumatic growth because I don't think people quite understand it. And what I mean by not quite understanding, meaning that, things, we all wish, I wish right now, just like a paved road, I can lay out my markers, I can lay out how far I need to go, how fast my speed should be, and where I'm going. But unfortunately, in life, it doesn't work that way. Obstacles and stresses come when we least expect it. I mean, what if you open your mail today, you get a bill from the IRS that you owe, let's say 10 grand. Oh my goodness. I mean, people freak out, right? Because it's something that's unexpected. But the reason why we don't talk about post traumatic growth is because we don't quite understand it. Remember, it is a theory, but it is really reality because we go through something traumatic. Outside that will be potential growth. It's like everything has an up and everything has a down. Everything on the bottom can't always stay up, and everything on top can't stay on the up, and everything on the bottom can't stay on the bottom, it always goes up. It's more or less boils down to a simple thing: how you deal with experiences and events, and how you kind of dissect what's really happening, and how you can learn and grow from the situation. It's like you said, when you go through a PTS event, your brain waves change, your fight or flight, your muscles are tensing up, you don't know where to go, what's going to happen. So you end up just reacting. right? We react to every situation. Right now, we're reacting to COVID. Right now, we're reacting to stress. It's a react, react. And eventually, over time, when we react to certain things, guess what happens? Your body gets weakened. The fight or flight mechanism that's inherent in our DNA gets weakened. You get sick. You're frustrated. You're lethargic. You're tired. You can't breathe. Those things happen because now we're overstimulated with this cortisol of fight or flight. But what if you go through this stress situation and it's momentarily, but out of there is growth because everything really should pass?
Mhm.
Out of if you lose your job, or in my case, if I lose my business, I'm thinking all about the great possibilities that can happen. What I'm thinking about right now, if I lose my business, as you guys know, now I'm a personal trainer, health coach, and all gyms are closed right now. Maybe the path I'm on right now, say new possibilities, has always been a path that gets me where I need to go and what I've envisioned for so many years. What if that is the possibility? Because, like I said before, we can't GPS our life. We don't know exactly if we do this, this is going to happen. We don't know. I'll talk about something, and this is going a little personal, but I like to connect with my listeners. And few people know this, but majority of people don't. So, to put it lightly, or no, forget lightly. Let's be straightforward. I was molested as a kid, and that happened when I was 5 years old. And for me, when you're 5 years old, 6 years old, no one tells you how to do with this. It was just a chaotic experience. My dad was upset. My sister was crying. My mom was upset. My mom, I don't think she knew how to communicate properly. I remember going, because my parents were separated. I remember going on weekends to my mom's house, and we were watching TV, watching Blockbuster at that time. It predates where age I am. Oh, what do you think about what happened with you and this person? And I hated dealing with those experiences. I just hated the fact she would ask me about it. And it was just a stressor knowing that if I get a moment with my mom alone, she's gonna ask me about it. My dad, on the other hand, I don't think he knew how to deal with it. I just think for him, it's like, it's out of sight, out of mind. We got past, let's move on.
Mhm.
That was his way of coping. But let me tell you what happened out of that period. I don't know if it was considered stress, but I can tell you, looking back 30 years ago, that it definitely manifested some other instances. And what I mean by manifested is that, you know, when you think of someone being molested, a couple things can happen, right? If it's a girl molested, she starts getting into drugs, she starts having relationships, she has kids early. Give an example. A guy gets molested, we don't talk about it. We really just don't. Well, what happened for me over the years when I went through this PTS syndrome and didn't realize what it was then was that um, my attachment to women has always been considered through sex. So the way I loved somebody was a connection via sex. I needed it, I demanded it, I craved it, everything was happening. And that's how I led my relationships, was the fact that if sex was good, the person loved me. So when I met someone and sex was great, it was good, they loved me, it was going the right direction, because the attachment to touch and feel. It could be the molestation. It can be being a single household. I don't know specifically what it be unless I sit there and dissect it. But for me, I moved on. I realized that was a moment in my life. I was too young to really gravitate towards the experience. This is something completely new. The person that did what he was 16 himself. So I don't know if he knows what he was doing anyways. But obviously, a 5-year-old boy and a 16-year-old boy, who knows what can be happening. But now looking back, I got PTG out of that because I was able to develop a better appreciation for a sexual connection. I was able to better appreciate the fact I can now understand it, right? Because if we don't understand something, it goes all every which way but loose, right? You're trying to understand what's happening.
Mhm.
I developed better personal strength. So what I mean by that is that me talking about it right now to the world, it would not have been something I would have done a long time ago. The only people that knew about it were the people that I was close with, and that was it. But now realizing that by me gaining personal strength, talking about what has happened to me, okay, that stressor, that uncomfortable situation, the fear, because the guy lived in my neighborhood, so the fear of walking home actually gave me personal strength. So now I can talk about it to my listeners and talk about it to you guys, knowing this happened to me. And Nothing bad. I didn't get on drugs. I didn't get in the gang. I didn't steal. I mean, those things didn't really happen in my case. I mean, I became more an introvert, probably. Maybe that's just who I am. But now I'm able to actually talk about it because I want to lead from a place of authenticity and be real with you guys out there, because this does happen and it comes in all facets. It's not, if I got molested, this happens. It goes all different directions out there.
Mhm. Well, well, damn. Thanks for sharing that story. That's very, very brave of you to share that very, very personal story um, to the world, to our listeners. And I give you so much credit for that, for coming out and sharing that.
Yeah, it's important that I want everybody to know we're all connected, and the more we can share our stories, and the more we can grow from it, right? Because out of sharing a story, you never know new possibilities. Out of sharing a story, you never know how you're going to grow. Out of coming from a place of where you experience something, share with somebody else, you never know how you can resonate or you can help them. Maybe by you sharing your story with somebody, like I just did, maybe I might open up someone to share their story with somebody else that's traumatic to them that happened.
Hmm.
Because we all always want to talk about the positive. All this, I want to talk about the good. Don't worry about the negative. Well, we gotta let that energy, negative and positive, our energy and all this are the same. You gotta let the energy go. The more you hold on to that stressor, the more you hold on to what's happening, the more you hold on to it like a junkyard dog, that dog with the bone, the more and more you can't release. And once you release that energy, you feel much more freer.
Would you say that at a young age when this happened to you, you've pretty much already had you're already in the right state of mind, pretty much? Would you,
Define right state of mind. What do you mean by that?
meaning that at that age, at 5, you were already thinking, you already know what was happening, you
You know
know?
what? Go ahead.
So I was going. What I was going to ask was, did that had an effect in you growing up? Obviously, it did. But would you say you were traumatized for years? Maybe when you were younger, you didn't really realize what it was all about. But as you've gotten older and had better thinking about it and understood it more, did that traumatize you?
Good question. Well, first of all, I didn't know what was happening. All I said to this is exactly what happened. We went down. There was this little spot or my neighborhood. We called the canyon. It's like a go down the hill, like a little pathway, whatever, by a creek. And what was happening down there was me, my sister, my cousin, and went down there. And there's a board, what things would take place. And I told my cousin, "Hey, this is me." When I say so and so, that means I'm not going to talk about the name, but I don't
Hmm.
remember the name. So I told my cousin, "This is me and this person. We come and hump." I didn't know what was that meaning. My cousin, being at the time 16, 17, 15, I don't know, she knew what it meant, right? She's older than me. She told my sister, and my sister was crying. She was very, very upset because here's the thing is that when you have a sibling or brother or sister, and one's older, what kind of really happens is the older one protects the younger one. There's no difference than a man would protect his wife or vice versa. So you protect the person you care about. That's really what happens. So I think for her, it was more or less she felt that she should have protected me much better. So I have no idea how it affected her. I know she was
Hmm.
upset. She got revenge. I mean, the guy got beat up at school. I mean, my sister was very popular. See, my sister and I were totally opposite. She was a popular kid. I was not. I was the one that would get the 4.0 in school. She was at that time. I would get citizen of the month. She couldn't get citizen of the week. We're just totally opposite. It's just how things work. But me, so what I realized this is that I think mine manifests in something else. So we go through a stressor, it manifests in different manners. Okay. What I mean by that is that I was more intrigued by sex, meaning that I started looking at porn when I was like 10 and 11 years old. My mom had a boyfriend who had porn. So when they would go out and on a date, I was thinking get the porn on the VHS and watch it. It could be I was curious. Masturbation comes into the play with that one. I mean, you're curious about yourself, so you do it because it does exist, and that's what I think what happened. So I don't know. I didn't become more sheltered in, but my energy towards looking at porn, masturbation, and all those things were a huge in my life. You know,
Mhm.
I remember. So my parents Jehovah's Witness. So obviously, one book is I don't know how it goes in the Bible, but something about don't let your seed being semen, whatever. So I don't know the scripture, so don't quote me, but basically what it is that if you're Jehovah's Witness or any kind of religion, masturbation is shunned upon. You don't do it. So I remember a couple of times being caught of doing it, and what would happen? I'd get in trouble. I'd be put on punishment for a week, whatever, or get spanking or whatever. But they never talked to me and said, "Okay, what's really going on?" Because you don't those things are learned. I mean, you're not born with those. You know, curiosity, we all have curiosity because that's what we are. I mean, but that's how it manifested. So what I mean by that is that when you go through a stressor, don't get hard on yourself because it's supposed to be a certain way. We go through a stressor and you act a certain way, it's just a reaction. Emotions have so much energy. It's like a missile, right? A bomb going off. It has so much energy. I mean, you have seen people, kill someone else because of love. You see some people, commit these horrific acts out of love or passion or upset or whatever, right? And that's how it manifests. So don't be too hard on yourself how things manifest because you don't know what you're going in your body. And these things are sensitive. We don't talk about them. What's kind of good about these days in 2020, those things we talk about them, right? You're going to seek therapists. You're going to seek help. You're going to see people that can all talk about it. Back in my day, it was basically the parents talked about it. I went to this little meditation, whatever it was. I took these two little dolls and put them together and said what we did. That was it. There was no like process there of taking a 5, 6 year old kid about how to talk about this crap and what to do. But what's good about now, we actually talk about it. It's not, wait a minute, oh, this happened to you. Let's talk about it. And it's great now that we're able to do that because if I had the ability to talk about this, maybe me being curious about, porn or curious about masturbation may not have happened, but they did happen. So I'm not going to say a lie and say it didn't, but it did happen because you're dealing with these things that are going on. I'm only talking about this because now I'm at a point in my life where I want to be authentic. I hate using the word authentic. I want to be myself, and I
Mhm.
want people to resonate with me more because I want to be myself. And talking about these experiences may help someone else say, "Look, no, this is what's happening. I need help." Right? The whole point about PTS is basically saying, "I'm going through the stressor. I need help." Then after you go through the stress, you seek help. PTG happens, which is new possibilities, spiritual development, great appreciation for life, clear relationships, and personal growth will happen after you actually talk about it. But we don't talk about it; it's all inside you.
Mhm.
And like I said earlier, that's energy.
And that's the main thing about this is talking about it. Talking about it and not holding it in. Sometimes when you hold it in, you end up self-medicating yourself and then you turn to, let's say, being an alcoholic, or turning into drugs because it just kind of helps you forget about the situation and then and you don't want to think about it, you want to avoid it, so you turn to that. But it is sometimes it is difficult for someone to bounce back from that experience or from any experience that was very stressful or it can be traumatic. It is a challenge, but ultimately we find a sense of personal growth from that. It is a process that takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of energy and it's a struggle. But eventually, growing from that or from any of the trauma or the stress, we end up becoming a better person. We become wiser, stronger. We may even change our philosophy of living or reevaluate our priorities. But again, like I said, it does take a lot of time and it could be a struggle.
You know what? We go through something. It's really a struggle getting yourself out of it because you go through something. You're like, damn it, how come I just don't feel better? That's what you say to yourself, right? Maybe some people may say it out loud, but you say to yourself, how come I'm not feeling better? Why am I going through this? What's this happening? And it's okay.
It's all normal. It's normal.
It's what you do while you're going through that makes all the difference.
Mhm. That's why when you bounce back better. A lot of the times you really do. It's almost like a let me give you an example here. So you have like a pot, like a pottery, right? It's a cracked pottery. So you drop it, you break it, whatever, it's cracked. So rather than hiding that cracked pottery, what do we do? If you want to keep it, you fix it, right? So you put the pieces back together even better as ever. And even while you have that, even while owning its broken history, you put it back together better. And it looks so much better and more beautiful.
Mhm. You actually become stronger, more resilient. Let me say that I have to say this too. Once you get through something that's traumatic, it really does is create another level. So if you really think about it, it's pleasurable going through something traumatic because once you get past those traumatic events after some time and healing has happened, trust me, and something else bigger and better than last time will show up again. You didn't have to deal with that one. So
Hmm.
every time you go through an event that's a stressor, get growth, a new event which is bigger than your last event. So every new stress creates a new level of stress.
But it's always, but you're a little bit more prepared.
And the wise, this book, The Daily Stoic, taught me this. You have a choice. So forget about what's happening to you. Okay, you have an opportunity to react two ways. React as far as this happened to me, I'm gonna close off. I'm gonna close up. I'm gonna react to the situation different. Or you can say, okay, the situation's happening to me. What's inside my control at this moment? What can I do right now? Okay, you get in a car accident. Hopefully everybody's safe. Everybody's okay. What can you do right now? Oh, you can scream at the dude for hitting you, or that person cut you off, or whatever. Okay, what you can do right now? You exchange insurance information. Okay, what can you do next? Okay, first you ask everybody's safe, then you exchange insurance information, and then you call your insurance company. And that allows you to process things like a staircase. If you react to a situation without realizing you have a choice, and you can proceed forward, knowing with a choice what you can do right now, what's in your control. If you get in a car accident, someone hits you, okay, that happened. What's in your control? How you doing? Is everybody okay? Are you okay? Does someone need to call the ambulance or need to call the police? Can we exchange insurance information? And that allows you to center your mind on why it's going all crazy and chaotic and all that stuff. You can focus on what you can control, allow you to progress forward in a better manner versus just going chaotic.
Hmm. So the positive, so there's a positive outcome of that post traumatic stress. Then that you will behave more careful in a maybe potentially more dangerous situation in the future.
Yeah, because new level of stress only creates a new level of stress. It's like new level of fear only creates a new level of fear. That unfortunately won't go away.
Hmm.
And that's the biggest thing people need to realize is that things won't always go away. Things won't always be hunky dory and smooth in line. Things do happen when you least expect it. Things come up when they shouldn't come up at all. I mean, it just really happens. It's just at what you can do right now, knowing you have a choice and allow those emotions to show up and knowing that outside of that, there's PTG, which is a post traumatic growth syndrome, new possibilities, a greater appreciation for life, and personal strength. The more you go through things that are hard, the more you develop personal strength. It's like no difference in someone that was homeless. Let's say Tony Robinson now becomes, people don't even know Tony Robinson was homeless at one point. But now look, you even think about that. So out of that trauma, being homeless, not having nowhere to go and eat food, now guess what? He has become much more better, and that's the key about that. And I hope you guys have learned there's a difference between PTS, which we always talk about. There's a difference between PTS and PTSD, which is a syndrome after being diagnosed by a physician. But out of either one of those is always a PTG. And that's the consideration because knowing that you have a choice, everything can't always be up and everything can't always be down. I hope you guys enjoy this podcast. I was kind of upfront with my own personal experiences because I want to resonate better with you guys. And as always, we're here to help. Gloria and I. You can find me on the Ron Johnson Life Coach on Instagram and Facebook on www.ronbusinesscoaching.com because you know what? We all are the same. We all are connected and we all can have support, enjoy each other. Thank you again.
And again, thanks, Ron, for sharing that very personal information about yourself. It's really brave of you to do that. And again, for all our listeners, just remember that there's always going to be something. Something will always come up: stress, challenges, obstacles. But what choice do we really have is to rebuild ourselves around that. When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. That's pretty much it. Again, this is Gloria, your life coach. Thanks for listening to another episode of Life's a Shuffle.